Hello and welcome in our YouTube channel Metallurgical Facts. In this video, we will try to understand what is the meaning of intensive and extensive properties. Okay, first of all, we will see what is intensive property and extensive property, and also we will see few examples of these properties. Okay, so the fundamental things of the property or the state variables is that the properties or state variables are either extensive or intensive. Okay, so this may be the properties may be intensive property or extensive property, and it totally depends on the mass or the matter of the property, whether that property will be extensive or intensive. Okay, so first of all we will see what is extensive property. So here we can write like that: extensive properties are those properties which depends on the mass of the system. Mass, or in some books you will find matter. Okay, mass, matter, or you can say the size of the system. Okay, so these are the three terms which is used for extensive property. So this extensive property is those properties which depends on the mass, the or matter or the size of the system. Those are known as extensive property. And in same way we can say that the intensive property is the reverse of that extensive property, means this is uh, independent of the mass, or you can say or matter or size of the system. Okay, size of system. So from here we can have idea about the extensive property and the basic idea about this extensive and intensive property. So we can say that the intensive property maybe the color of that substance. Okay, or we can say this is temperature, very basic. This temperature does not depends on the mass of that system or matter of that system. Okay, and we can say boiling point of that property. Boiling point is also intensive property. Melting point is also intensive property. Okay, so from here we can have idea about this intensive property. Thus hardness is also intensive property. Okay, pressure is also intensive property. And these all properties does not depend on the mass of the system. Okay, so either we will change the mass or we will change the size of the system. This property will be remain same. This property will not change. Okay, so order of the that order property is also not depends on the mass. Okay, so ductility is also there and malleability is also there. So there are many examples for this intensive property. Same as in extensive property, we can say it depends on the mass. So mass is extensive property. Area is also extensive property because it changes according to the mass or according to the size of the system. Okay, so volume is also extensive property because it depends on the mass. Length is also, and entropy, this is thermodynamics term. Entropy, enthalpy, we can say this also depends on the mass of the system. Okay, and weight. Okay, so these are the terms these are the examples of extensive properties, and these are the examples of intensive properties. Now we will see few more things about these intensive and extensive properties. That if the values of this extensive properties, means if the values of these extensive properties will be taken as per unit mass or per unit system. Per unit mass or per unit volume of the system, so that extensive property will be changed into the intensive variable. Suppose this is volume, and volume is a extensive variable. Okay, this is extensive property, this volume is extensive property, and whenever we will take this volume as volume per unit mass, means volume per unit mass is known as specific volume. Okay, so this specific volume is intensive variable. Okay, so this is intensive property. So if we will take volume per unit mole, that is molar volume. So this is also intensive property, because this is independent of the mass. Whether we will change the whether we will increase or decrease the amount of matter, it doesn't depend on the mass of that property. Okay, so specific volume is basically the intensive property, and this specific this molar volume is also this molar volume is also intensive property. Okay, so now we can say that if here I am writing here, if the if the values of extensive property is expressed as per unit volume, or per unit mole, that will be intensive property. Okay, so that's why I am writing here this inside this side. Okay, so this is one term we have to remember, that it's somewhere if you will get specific values or molar values, that will be the intensive property. Suppose they are talking about specific heat capacity, so this is the intensive property, because we know that specific heat capacity is something which independent of the mass. Okay, and one more thing here we can write about this intensive property is that that if we will take the ratio of two extensive properties, suppose this mass is extensive property. Okay, suppose this mass is extensive property we are taking, and this volume is also extensive property. Okay, but as we will take the ratio of these properties, suppose we will take the ratio of this mass by volume, so we can have idea about this mass by volume. Mass by volume is actually density. Okay, so this density is intensive property, but this mass and this volume individually, it is extensive property. So we can say we can conclude from here that if we will take the ratio of two extensive properties, it will be that will become intensive property. Okay, so this is all about the extensive properties and intensive properties. Okay, so these are the examples. We know these are the examples of this extensive and intensive property. This is very important as per the gate exam, for any exam. Okay, so we should remember these things, and we can also remember this intensive property, that this is independent of the mass, means which is independent of the mass, that is intensive property. Okay, and the other one is extensive property. So color, temperature, boiling point, melting point, hardness, pressure, refractive index, order, ductility, malleability, these all are intensive properties. Okay, and whenever we will take volume per unit mass or volume per unit mole, this is one of the example. Suppose if we will take any of the extensive property per unit mass or per unit volume, that will be intensive property. Okay, and one more example I have given to you, that if we will take any of the any of the two values of extensive properties ratio, that will become intensive properties. Okay, so we should be careful about these things in exam. So these are the concepts, these are the all about extensive and intensive properties. Okay, so I hope you have understood these things. Thank you guys for your attention. Hope you have learned something new in this video. We are coming with GATE 2021 question practice, metallurgical engineering question practice. We will do MSQs type of questions also, and we will do few concepts of thermodynamics in those videos. So subscribe our channel and press bell icon to get notifications. Thank you.